Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining me here on this episode of Stock Market Sundays at Fed Head Ed. I just wanted to put this episode out. Essentially, it's going to be different than the ones going forward. Later on, I'm going to keep things more structured, where I'm just going to give 3 picks that I'm looking at currently that week, 3 for short to medium term, and 3 for the long term. But this first episode, I'm just going to talk about some things that I have my eye on now, some recommendations just straight off the bat. So there's going to be a little bit more than that. For what it's worth, I hope that there's some good picks there, and I wish everybody the best of luck trading. I'm doing this just for fun. It's a hobby of mine, so this is all for entertainment purposes only. But essentially, I figured I'd name some things off here and just talk about things. And talking about that as well, if you don't have a stockbroker or you're just looking to start, I'm going to post in the link below a link to WEBULL and one to ROBINHOod, where basically you can get some free stocks just for signing up. So check those out. And without further ado, let me get into my picks here. But basically, there's a variety of things. Most of these are going to be growth stocks that I'm looking at and going to name. I have a variety of other ones along the way. I'm going to do videos about things like blue chips and more defensive type stocks, and some regarding specifically ETFs and other things like that, if for those that want to have something kind of more passive and that don't really have to actively manage it. But essentially, these are some things that I just have my eye on right now and think are good ideas to keep an eye on for good prices. So number one here is Overstock. Right now, I think that it's quite an undervalued company. It's around $60. Let's call it a little bit less. But this thing right here, any price that comes between $50 to $60, I'd say is a good price to get for it. Its earnings are going to be up later this year. I think they have in a couple months or something, they have earnings reports due. But this is something that's going to pop once it does and once that comes out. So it's just undervalued at the moment, and it's quite a stable company in terms of safety. So that's a good one. Essentially, another one along the lines of payments and things would be Shift for Payments, and that one right there is the ticker FOUR. That, if could get in a really good position, what I would consider would be anywhere around the $60 mark, even a little bit less if possible, but don't know if the lower prices will be available for that. But anything over $60, I'd say, would be good to get in with that. Then there's one called Fastly, and right now it's hovering at around, let's just say, $90. But usually it tends to hold its value at around the $80 mark. So anything that could be picked up in the mid 60s and under 70 for that is something that I'd recommend as well. And something that's a little bit more risky, but worth checking out if you like the Bitcoin idea or you want to kind of get into it without getting Bitcoin, is Mara, M-A-R-A, and that one's at around $23. Let's call a little bit under, but I'd say a good position to get in on that would be anything from the $15 to $17 mark. Ideally, there's been quite a bit of uptick with it recently with what's going on with Bitcoin, but that's the price that I think would be comfortable to get in. And those were for payment companies. Something that I'm keeping an eye out to also is for genetics and bio companies. So one that I already picked up on, got it around $4.50, but would still recommend because the price is just a little over $5. It's like $5.20 right now. But Orgenesis, ticker ORGS. And this one, I'd say, is just extremely undervalued for what it is. Any price between like the mid fours to even, possibly under, a little bit under 6 ideally. But this thing is, when it pops, it's going to pop hard, and I have a feeling that this is going to be a decent payoff. So that's that one. And along the bio as well, 2 penny stocks. I usually don't recommend penny stocks, but these have good potentials, and again, I'm only going to take a small position in these just to, in case something happens, I don't miss out. But if something bad does happen to them, then I'm not going to lose much either. But ETTX, Enthesis Therapeutics, and if I could get in ideally around the $2 mark with this one, that's what I want. Anything below $2.50 would be my point, like $2.40 or less. But this could potentially pay off quite well. And along that line as well, Direct, DRRX, and this one's at around $2, so it's a decent price to pay. I'd say anything somewhere around the $1.70 to $2 mark for this could have some decent payoffs later on, but just to keep an eye. Again, those two ones are a little riskier, but just throwing them out there. What do I have in an idea for IPOs? I've gotten some money out of IPOs before and I like them, but you got to be very selective about these. And essentially, the ones that I'd recommend, one that already went public, but Virgin Galactic, if Virgin falls back down under $20, that would be a buy. And praying for something like 17.20. I mean, not hoping to hurt anyone out there, but I'd buy in more around there. I got in myself at like 16, a little under 16.15 and change, but yeah, still just a great company, and I'll be loading up more shares if it falls, but right now it's at the $30 mark, and it'll be jumping after they end up doing their test flights coming up soon. So that's just something to keep an eye out. But along that same line, Shamat Palihapitiya, forgive me if I said the name wrong, but this guy he's had phenomenal records with his companies, and I recommend investments with him. I know I'm going to take some positions this week. I've been keeping an eye last week, and I already have Open Door, which is a company of his. I got in around the $15 mark, and they're at 25 right now. If they fell down under 20, I'd consider getting more as well. But right now, he's got 3 other IPOs that I'm keeping an eye on, which is mainly IPOD, IPOF, and IPOE. And although the IPOD and F, those are at around the $15 mark, and if I can get it for 15 or less, I'm going to start loading up. IPOE is over 20, but if I can get it again at the $15, $60 mark, I'm going to start loading up, because later on when they start getting close to the merger, these will be payoffs. So I'm keeping an eye out on those, see what's going to happen. And there's still some other companies. There's a variety of cloud computing companies and security companies which will be doing quite well. But right now, considering something like Cloudflare, for example, if it fell back down into the 50s or 60s, that's where I'd consider getting some more. But right now, they're bucking up against $80. And I'm not going to talk too much about other things that I already own, but something that I do own, but if it fell down again under 20 that I pick up more, would be Desktop Metal. It's an extremely undervalued company, even at what it is, but I'd like to see it under 20. I ended up picking up myself around the $11 mark, but that was me. I'd still buy more. They're just a great company, and a lot of growth potential. So essentially, those are those. There's going to be some other ones, like some Chinese companies. Usually I don't recommend, but considering everything that's going on, you won't see me talk that much about them. One, though, that I've kept an eye on recently is HUYA, Huya. It's a video game company. That's something that potentially for like the shorter term make a profit on or something. But yeah, these are just some ideas that I'm throwing out there. There's a variety of things, for example, like Abcerella Biologics, if it falls anywhere in the 30s. Again, like that's where I'd be buying it, hopefully under 36, but right now it's in the 40s. Same line along to Palantir, if that thing fell to around $15 or so, maybe 16, I'd consider buying some more. It's a great company. I wish I would have stayed. Like, yeah, it has a lot of potential. There's a variety of green companies which are going to be doing well considering the new administration, but I'll be getting into those later on. Right now, a lot of those are overvalued in my opinion, so waiting for them to fall a bit to get back in. There's still going to be some stuff going on with the transition, so keep an eye on some of these picks here. Even something like Nano Dimension, which is a more recent company. But yeah, that one, if could get in around the $5 to $6 mark, that would be awesome. Maybe even a little bit more, but just a great company. And let's see, what else? Mostly that's where I'd stay. There's a variety of things. These are just some recommendations I'm throwing out there. And even things like graphene. I like a thing called EAF, and right now it's jumped up considerably, but if it fell back down like to around the $7 something, $8 to $9 mark, I'd say that this might be something good for potential in the long term as well. I'm going to do some more stock picks along the way and shout outs. But thank you very much for joining me. Hopefully all you enjoyed, and take care.